By popular vote, it's Shrek Forever After. Can't say I was surprised people wanted me to talk about this one. I did do the last 3 movies. I think it's time to conclude the Shrek trilogy. That one isn't canon. Anywho, this was a rather interesting movie to talk about, purely for how divisive it's become. There's people who like it, people who hate it, and people like me who find ourselves in the middle. Shrek Forever After is no first or second film, and I'm not surprised to see why. But at the same time, I can't pretend it doesn't do some things right, and it's certainly an improvement over the last film, that's for sure. The film opens with the villain Rumpelstiltskin, who's been wanting to take over Far Far Away for his own needs. He was close to getting Fiona's parents to sign a contract, but this just so happens to take place at the same time Shrek rescued Fiona in the first film. Thus, Rumpelstiltskin dreams of getting revenge on Shrek. And speaking of Shrek, his life is starting to become a bit mundane. Every day feels the same to him and everybody loves him, but he misses the days when people used to be afraid of him and gets persuaded by Rumpelstiltskin to sign a contract that gives him one whole day to be the scary ogre he used to be. But as soon as he discovers Shrek doesn't exist in this timeline because the very day Rumpelstiltskin took was the day Shrek was born. So naturally, he locates Fiona, becomes friends with Donkey again, and joins the ogre resistance to get back his happily ever after. So yeah, to sum the story up in a nutshell, it's the Shrek equivalent to It's a Wonderful Life. But even though it copies the basic setup, the build-up actually fits in really well. I gotta give this movie props for actually going back on the themes of Shrek's character arc. It was all about him wanting to fit in and be accepted by society, and now he's here with everything he wanted. But it's a lifestyle that becomes mundane and repetitive for him that leads to his decision to sign the contract. He's been alone all his life, and all this new responsibility is really overwhelming for him, so I don't think that makes him unlikable in the slightest. And yes, I know everybody's gonna bring up that one scene where he blows up at Fiona, but they did that on purpose, so that when Shrek does realize he f***ed up, it's immensely satisfying. But although I like the themes the movie's going for, the actual plot itself is rather predictable. And I know I always say that original stories don't matter if the movie itself is entertaining. And well, half the time Shrek Forever After is entertaining. Aside from Shrek's character arc, it was fun seeing all the characters in different roles and settings that we never thought we'd want to see. Like how Shrek's the one who has to befriend Donkey instead of the other way around, or Fiona leading a resistance of ogres. I like the different roles, regardless of the story going in the directions I figured it would go. And while we're on the topic of characters, Rumpelstiltskin is actually a really great villain. His design is great, I love the voice acting, and he can be pretty funny too. And I don't know if it's just me, but the fact that he literally rules over everything, effectively raising the stakes of Shrek's time limit, makes him one of the largest threats in the franchise. Now, as far as humor is concerned, well, to tell you the truth, Shrek Forever After isn't that funny. But the catch is, it's not trying to be funny. This is an alternate timeline where Shrek's life is stripped away and everyone is miserable. There's hardly a need for jokes in this movie. But with that said, the ones they do decide to go with are hit and miss. Some of them are great, while others can be a bit groan-inducing. But the important thing is, none of them are as bad as Shrek the Turd's jokes. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say about Shrek Forever After. As far as where it stands in the franchise, I'd rank it the 3rd best. Does that make it a good movie? Well, I think it's decent enough. The story is captivating, the characters are still great, and the drama is amped up so well that it actually made me cry at one point. But the pacing is a bit slow, and the jokes, despite there not being a lot, can be hit and miss. But still, as far as the finale goes, Shrek Forever After is far from the worst. It has its moments, and the ending is satisfying enough for me to say, you know what, this is a good way to close things off. That's basically the best way to close off this movie. It's not great, but it's a good way to close things off. Wow, I finally reviewed every Shrek movie. What could I do next? Oh, right. I have a feeling that's going to win the next popular vote month, isn't it?